All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're basically putting on our detective hats to solve a super specific, yet honestly incredibly common financial mystery, piecing together missing data using IGCSE accounting principles. Think of this as your masterclass in forensic accounting. You know, we all learn that perfect idealized version of double-entry bookkeeping, right? Where every debit has a credit and the ledgers balance out flawlessly. But what happens when that neat little system just completely falls apart? What happens when human error, a natural disaster, or just, well, plain messy record-keeping shatters your data? How do you find the truth when half the puzzle pieces are missing? Well, that is exactly what we're going to uncover today.
Let's do a quick run-through of our agenda, basically our investigator's toolkit for today. We've got 6 exact sections to help crack this case. Section 1, the incomplete records mystery. Section 2, finding capital with affairs. Section 3, calculating profit or loss. Section 4, solving missing ledger values. Section 5, decoding margin and markup. And finally, Section 6, common mistakes to avoid. Let's get to it.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the incomplete records mystery. To really get this investigation going, we need to understand the scene of the crime.
So the big question is, what happens when a business loses its financial records? Seriously, how do we calculate the true financial standing of a business when the usual ledgers are just gone? Normally, accountants rely on these perfectly balanced books, but in the real world, man, things get incredibly messy. Just imagine the absolute panic of walking into an audit or sitting down for an exam, and instead of a pristine balance sheet, you're essentially handed the mathematical equivalent of a shoebox stuffed with crumpled, coffee-stained receipts. How on earth do you build a complete financial picture from that?
Well, records usually go missing or just end up incomplete for a few standard reasons. Oftentimes, it's simple because the business owner lacks the technical accounting skills to maintain proper books. I mean, they're running a business, not an accounting firm. Other times, small businesses operate purely on a cash basis, relying on these really simple single entries rather than a robust double entry system. And of course, sometimes physical or digital records are legitimately lost, damaged in a fire or a flood, or literally even stolen. The major disadvantage here, and this is a massive one, is that without full records, we absolutely cannot prepare a trial balance. Think about that for a second. The trial balance is our ultimate mathematical safety net. It proves our ledgers are actually accurate. Without it, theoretically, every single number we have could be a mistake. We're flying completely blind here, which is exactly why we need specialized forensic tools to figure this out.
Moving right along to Section 2, finding capital with affairs. Our very first piece of evidence to uncover is the baseline capital.
You see, to figure out how much a business has grown over time, we first need to know exactly what it started with. Now, when you have perfect, complete records, you create a standard statement of financial position. But when records are incomplete, you prepare what's formally called a statement of affairs. While it looks incredibly similar to that statement of financial position, it serves a very specific detective purpose. It uses a simple rearrangement of the fundamental accounting equation. We basically take the known total assets, subtract the known total liabilities, and what is left over? Boom, that's our missing capital figure for either the start or the end of the year. Let me repeat that just to lock it in. Total assets minus total liabilities equals capital. It's essentially a snapshot of the business's net worth at one single isolated moment in time.
All right, Section 3, calculating profit or loss. Now that we've actually found our starting and ending capital, let's figure out how to logically calculate our overall profit. And we're going to do this entirely without a traditional income statement. By mapping out this specific calculation structure, we can visually figure out our profit through pure deduction. It's like a giant puzzle. We start with our closing capital. That's where the business ended up. Then we subtract the opening capital, where it started. But hold on, we absolutely cannot stop there. Think about it. If the owner injected, say, $5,000 of their own money during the year, that closing capital looks bigger, right? But the business itself didn't earn that money through its actual operations. So we have to subtract any additional capital to find the real truth. On the flip side, what if the owner took out $2,000 for a personal vacation? Those are called drawings. The business did successfully generate that wealth, it just, left the building. Because those drawings reduced the closing capital prematurely, we actually have to add them back in to reveal the true underlying profit the business generated. When you really look at it, it's a beautifully logical deduction.
Next up is Section 4, solving missing ledger values. Sometimes our investigation isn't about looking at the whole business. Sometimes it's just about finding one specific, frustrating missing puzzle piece, like total credit sales or trade receivables. And this requires our next tool. We can easily find a single missing value using control accounts by following a super strict 3-step recipe. Step 1, draw up the T account ledger.
Step 2, fill in every single known value you have from bank statements or random receipts, things like opening balances, cash received, or discounts allowed. Step 3, simply balance the account. For instance, if you're looking for missing credit sales, you draw up the sales ledger control account. You fill in the opening balance you have on record and the cash received that you actually see on the bank statement. Now, because total debits literally must equal total credits, whatever gap is left over on the credit side, that is your missing sales figure. It's an incredibly simple, basically foolproof mathematical lockpick.
Which brings us to Section 5, decoding margin and markup. This is definitely the trickiest part of incomplete records. It's honestly a place where a lot of professionals get stuck. Before we decode the difference, let's pause and read this foundational formula out loud. Cost price plus gross profit equals selling price. This is absolutely crucial because it anchors how all organizations establish that profit element during pricing. If you don't lock this exact equation into your memory right now, the rest of the puzzle is going to fall apart. Seriously, everything we talk about next rests firmly on this simple bit of addition.
Okay, let's define our terms so we don't get tripped up later. The term markup specifically means looking at your profit as a direct percentage of the original cost price. Let me repeat that with a bit more emphasis. Markup is heavily tied to the cost. It is the profit expressed exclusively as a percentage of what it originally cost the business to buy or make the item. Simple enough, right?
Now here is the crucial point. Gross profit sits right at the top of the fraction. It is the numerator for both margin and markup calculations. Gross profit is the vital clue that connects these two concepts together. No matter which formula you're using, the actual dollar amount of the gross profit never changes. It's always sitting right there at the top of your fraction, acting as your anchor point.
Let's make this highly practical with some real numbers so you can really visualize the math. Imagine a business buys inventory with a cost price of $40 and they want to add a gross profit of $10. They naturally arrive at a final selling price of $50. Pretty straightforward. Cost of $40 plus a profit of $10 equals a final price of $50. Keep those three numbers in your head for a second: 40, 10, and 50.
Now, here is where the magic happens, and this brilliantly illustrates the core difference between the two terms. That exact same $10 profit represents a 25% markup, but only a 20% margin. Let's break that down. Remember, markup looks at cost. $10 of profit over the original cost of $40 is 1/4 or 25%. But margin looks at the final price. That exact same $10 profit divided by the final selling price of $50 is 1/5 or 20%. The actual dollar amount of profit didn't change at all, literally just the perspective we're viewing it from.
Knowing this allows for an amazing mental math conversion trick when you only have incomplete data. To switch from a markup fraction to a margin fraction, you keep your numerator exactly the same. But for your new denominator, just add the top number to the bottom number. Let me guide you through it. If your markup is 1/4, you take that 1 on top, add it to the 4 on the bottom to get 5, and your margin is now 1/5. It is a brilliant, lightning-fast shortcut that completely bypasses heavy algebra and lets you reconstruct missing sales or cost figures instantly. It's a total game changer. All right, rounding the corner to Section 6, Common Mistakes to Avoid. Before we formally conclude our case and put our investigative tools away, we really must review these common traps. These repeatedly trip up examiners, students, and even seasoned professionals when dealing with incomplete records. You've got to ensure you don't compromise all your hard detective work by falling for basic, avoidable errors. First, avoid writing vague definitions. Always use precise accounting terminology. Second, never ignore the command words in your tasks. If you're asked to explain why a trial balance fails, don't just describe what a trial balance is. Examiners and clients are testing your analytical skills, not just your memory. Third, always include your labels and currency units on your calculations. And finally, remember that solving incomplete records isn't just a fun math puzzle in a vacuum. You must continuously link your findings back to the wider preparation of the official financial statements.
Also, if you're taking an exam or a professional assessment, you can instantly spot an incomplete record scenario approaching from a mile away. Just keep an eye out for trigger phrases. Look for prompts stating the business does not keep full accounting records or does not keep proper books of account. As soon as you see those exact words, ding, 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 it is time to deploy the statement of affairs and your newly acquired margin markup tricks. So, now that you have the complete mathematical toolkit to rebuild missing data entirely from scratch, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
How will you apply this investigator's mindset to the financial puzzles in your own life or business? Because the numbers always tell a story, even when some of the pages are missing, torn out, or completely covered up. You just need to know how to read between the lines and calculate what isn't there. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the data.